For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
This week's Law & Order Marathon winner is Samantha Kidd from Carthage, North Carolina. Samantha will get a marathon decal showing she watched 26.2 hours of her favorite crime show. To be next week's winner, sign up at lawandorderpodcast.com.
I'm Kevin Flynn with Rebecca Lavoie and Maggie Freeling, and these are their stories.
You think you know who did it, but you don't know who did it. Law and order, law and order, law and order. It's no ordinary police procedural, baby. It's the FNOG of police procedurals, baby. Law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order. These are their stories, these are their stories.
Welcome to These Are Their Stories, the podcast about network TV's most enduring crime franchise and the real-life cases that inspired their shows. I'm Kevin Flynn. Each podcast will break down an episode from either Criminal Intent, SVU, or Original Recipe, and today we're looking at Special Victims Unit, Season 7, Episode 10, Storm.
All information obtained by the NYPD or the medical examiner's office is not classified.
We just keep our mouths shut till people start dying from anthrax.
Federal government is prepared to deal with any and all exigencies.
Sure, by calling in the black helicopters. For once, he's not being paranoid.
Joining me to do just that is true crime author and the host of Crime Writers On and Netflix's You Can't Make This Up podcast, Rebecca Lavoie. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, Kevin.
And rounding out our panel is our special guest, the Pulitzer Prize winner, and it's Pulitzer, not Pulitzer. You got to say
Pulitzer. If you're fancy.
Prize winner. It's our good friend, the host of Wrongful Conviction, Maggie Freeling. Hello, Maggie.
Hey, y'all. I am so excited to be here.
Pulitzer. Are you there? Is she the only Pulitzer Prize winner that's been
No,
on?
we've had, what did you say?
I say
You
Pulitzer.
Pulitzer?
I'm like a lower class person.
You're lowbrow.
So.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah.
We had Marsha Chatelain
Marsha
on, right?
Chatelain also
won a Pulitzer.
She
So
won a
did
Pulitzer.
Amber.
You won
And
a
a
Pulitzer.
Peabody.
Yeah.
She won a Peabody,
And
too,
a Peabody.
right? Yeah.
I'm going for
Sorry.
that. I'm going for that. What would be, Rebecca, what would be the
EGOT?
Yeah, the EGOT. What would it be?
We gotta get
Pulitzer.
a Webby.
No. A Pulitzer, a Peabody, what's the one that, DuPont?
Murrow and DuPont.
And a Murrow.
Okay.
Those
Yeah.
four.
Yeah.
Where does that spell?
I don't know.
Yeah, we gotta
Pulitzer,
figure.
Peabody, Murrow, nothing.
Yeah. Someone message us and let us know.
So, Maggie, you're in the world of wrongful convictions. How do you feel about a TV show that arrests a guy for murder in the first half, and the prosecutors realize in the second half they got the wrong guy?
Okay. This is one of the wildest episodes. When I first watched this, I gave it two and a half passes. I was like, I am so mad at them right now. I was like, I really was like standard, just like murder. I'm going to have a nice night, watch this episode, take it in, have a chat. It's not just that in the halves. In the first 2 minutes, we go from Iraq to Katrina to surrogate fathers who's a predator. That is before we even get to.
It's before the first commercial.
My goodness.
Yes, the first 2 minutes.
Before the first dun-dun. I know, right? So, Maggie, of all the franchises, which two cops are your favorite Law and Order detective team?
Favorite Law and Order detective team.
So I watched all of SVU, but a while ago, so I'm a little rusty. But, I really liked Amaro, honestly. I feel like a lot of people don't like him.
That's
I don't
the
know.
first time anyone has ever said that.
I liked his storyline, and I liked when those new with Amanda. I don't know why. I liked the new storylines. And they were like a pair, right? And then didn't he get shot? Something happened. He shot
a child.
He shot a child. right. Yeah, I was pretty bummed about that. I just thought he was like the first really hot one. I was like, finally, thank God we got the hot
Horrible
guy.
to his wife,
Yeah,
though.
no, I think didn't he get shot in the courtroom and the whole Johnny D thing went down?
Yeah, and then he had like the crutch.
Yeah, he still doesn't have as many kills as Stabler, so he'll always be he'll always be a little
He
below
has beat
Stabler.
up some people, though.
He has beat up some people, yeah. And Maggie, who is your favorite prosecutorial team?
Favorite Law and Order district attorney prosecutorial team.
I feel like it's always changing, and it's usually a woman, and I don't know the difference between any of the prosecutors.
All right. It's fair.
Yeah, they all kind of blend together
The
in the
ladies.
same beautiful
I
suit.
like when Olivia becomes the chief. I do like that, but I don't like when the cop becomes the prosecutor, and then him and her are always having their beef. What's his name?
Carisi.
Carisi, yeah.
I love him. We have opposite taste. I
like
Amaro.
Carisi, but I don't like him as a prosecutor. I'm like, this, it's like worse to maybe worse. I don't even know. I'm like, you're a cop and a prosecutor. I'm not doing it.
I'm gonna ask you to rewind to season 20 and see what he replaced, and you'll be absolutely fine with Carisi.
Stone.
All right, now let's take a look at the first half of this episode. SVU Season 7, Episode 10, Storm. Well, that dad took his eyes off those 3 little girls on the merry-go-round for just 1 second, and they're gone. Not kidnapped, just hauling ass to get away from him. He grabs middle child, Nikki, but Tasha and her baby sister run into traffic and are hit by a taxi. So the dude takes Nikki and leaves the others in the street. At the hospital, Benson and Stabler learn the guy is not their father.
He took us from New Orleans. The water flooded our house. Mama and Grandma drowned.
Hurricane Katrina.
We held onto the roof. The man came in a boat. He saved our lives. He said he was our new daddy.
Tasha says that the man took them from New Orleans to New York and has been keeping them in a basement apartment near a church and a school, but they can't find it. Fearing a desperate kidnapper might decide to rape or kill Nikki at this point, Cragen stages a fake press conference asking for witness photos from the car accident and not say it's kidnapping. This piques the interest of reporter Jackson Zane, who figures out the plea is just a ruse and threatens to expose it until the detectives promise him an exclusive on a bigger story. Even though Zane accidentally blows Liv's cover at a Katrina relief center, Elliot arrests the suspect, tricks him into giving his fingerprints, and learns he's Alvin Dutch, a high-risk sex offender from Louisiana who's been on the run since the hurricane. While in lockup, Dutch sweats profusely, vomits blood, and is taken to the hospital. Benson and Stabler visit Dutch's only relative in New York and find Nikki in the basement. She's also running a high fever, but by the time they get her to the hospital, they learn Dutch has died from anthrax.
That's all the first half?
That's the first half.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So, we open on what we think is a loving father watching his 3 girls go round and round on the carousel, and when it stops, they're gone, okay? 360-degree view, only 10% of it obscured by a goofy pipe organ, and that's when they decide to make their break, right? My question is, when they got off, why were they able to run in a straight line? Weren't they dizzy? Wasn't it like the dizzy bat race? Shouldn't they all kind of been running to the side?
No, that's just you.
Oh, that's just me?
Because last time...
She did run directly into traffic, so maybe she was a little dizzy.
No, Kevin gets dizzy on carousels because he always gets stuck with the tiny horse in the middle.
Hey, now.
Last time we rode a carousel, there were 4 of us, 2 friends, me and Kevin, and it was me on the big horse, my friend Marianne on the medium horse, my friend Rob on a moderately small horse, and Kevin on a fucking Shetland pony. And that thing went around the pole like so fast.
Hey, I was in the inside lane. The centrifugal force is different there, okay?
That is so
But you're right, their escape is blocked by oncoming traffic on the Central Park Expressway. Dutch catches up to Nikki, but Tasha, who's holding baby Lola, runs into the road and stops right in front of the taxi. And after a series of really bad edits, we see Tasha get launched like Beetlejuice and hit the ground, and somehow it knocks them both out? They're both knocked out unconscious?
I liked how the cab said, I didn't see them, but we're like, we heard you honk, motherfucker. You saw them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And Dutch does what most fathers do in that situation, runs out for cigarettes. It's like, okay, peace, I don't know her. I'm walking away. But you know who I feel really bad for?
Uh-oh.
The guy in the cab trying to get across town. It's like, is the meter still running?
Maggie, you lived in New York, right?
Yes.
Does that ever happen to you? Your cab ever hit somebody?
No, but many, many times people jump in front of the train. So I've been commuting to work, and it's a whole, like, you're not getting to work today. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
That happened to me on Amtrak once.
Wow. Where were you going?
I was coming up to England, and they were literally like, we're going to have to stop the train. There's been a fatality on the tracks. And I'm like, what? I was like 13. I was very, very surprised.
Wow. Yeah.
So was the conductor.
The guy wasn't, though.
So you got to remember that Tasha was hit while facing the cab and knocked backwards on her head. And when they go to the hospital, the scar is on the front of her forehead. Thanks, Obama. Healthcare. Okay, so now because this is such a high-stakes police interview, before Benson goes to talk to Tasha, they fit her with a little radio earpiece to communicate with her. So how does Cragen let Liv know it's time to start?
Olivia's set with her earpiece. We're good to go.
He bangs on the window. The fuck? Why'd you even bother putting the thing in her ear? Can't you just say like, okay, it's time to go? Why can't you? What's with the banging on the window?
I noticed. I thought I was missing something. I was like, am I not paying attention? Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Why was it so high stakes? They talk to the people all the time.
I don't know. Why do they need that?
I don't know. They talk to people all the time.
You know, Liv, we don't think you can handle this, all right? So all the men are gonna be here giving you the questions, all right? So you just be my mouthpiece, all right?
Yeah.
And Tasha says she doesn't know where the basement apartment is that they were held in, but it has lots of brown buildings around, and it's near a church and a school, and based on how long it took to get there by bus, it's probably in Harlem. And so there are dozens and dozens of areas that have churches and schools nearby. So to race the clock and find the apartment where they believe Dutch is holding Nikki and about to kill her or sexually assault her, Benson and Stabler and Tasha walk from block to block and say, no, not that one. No, not that one. They took a car to Harlem, right? Isn't it faster to drive around and do the same thing?
They've done this on other episodes. Remember the one where all the women were stuck in the house and they like had them drive around and look
see
at
if
the
they could
neighborhood?
hear. I remember one where they were trying to hear. Yeah, they do this often.
Yeah. Well, they learned their lesson from season 7. This was stupid. This was so bad that the actors didn't even do more than 2 churches. They just kept doing cutaways, and it was voiceovers of like, not that one. No, not that one.
I give her credit though for being able to tell churches apart. They all look the same to me.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Did you guys notice too that I'm pretty sure I didn't rewind, so I just caught this, that I think this girl who is like, how old would you say she is?
12.
Yeah.
She had a glass of milk in front of her in this police station. I was like, I think that girl is like post milk age. And like, why is there milk in the police station? Like, Coke would do just fine.
It's from the vending machine. Vending machine milk.
After what she's been through, she should get a bottle of Jack. All right, so we get to see somebody before they were famous.
We sure do.
Before they were famous.
Who was that playing Tasha Wright?
We never went outside before today.
Has he ever hurt you?
No, but he looks at me funny, and he's always hugging Nikki.
That was Keke Palmer.
Yes. Yes, 2-time Emmy winner Keke Palmer. By the way, that's 2 more Emmys than Christopher Maloney has. This episode came right out before Akilah and the Bee, which was her big screen debut.
Wow.
In addition to her music career, Keke has been in, like you said, Hustlers, Nope, Alice. She provided her voice to Ice Age and Lightyear, and is currently the host of ABC's game show Password.
And she was in Usher's music video boyfriend.
Oh, she was?
Yes, for reasons.
For reasons.
That people know if they know.
Oh.
I loved her in Nope. I like particularly liked her character a lot.
She's great. She's amazing in that movie.
Yeah. Keke says that she grew up watching SVU, and she didn't meet Mariska until they were on the set and she was lying in that bed, and she was trying not to freak out. And she says that afterwards, Mariska gave her a whole basket full of bath products.
Nice. And milk.
And milk. Maggie, by the way, for your appearance, you're getting a brown paper bag filled with used scratch tickets.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Keke has a memoir out this month. It's called Master of Me. She says that one of her white co-stars from the TV show Scream Queens used a racially insensitive remark towards her. She did not name the actress, but the internet has noticed that Keke follows on Instagram all of her co-stars except Lea Michele.
Oh, that bitch.
I'm going to pretend like I know who we're talking about.
Lea Michele was racially problematic on Glee as well.
She was the lead actress in Glee, and she kind of has a reputation
for being
of being
a bully
and a prima donna
and a racist
and illiterate.
Yes.
I've never seen this person. Why do we know who she is? Glee?
Yes.
Glee. Maggie like Googles Lea Michele. Let me tell you.
I just Googled her.
I love that. I love the fact that she can't read.
I can see what's going on with your eyes. You're going, oh, yeah. So Keke recently commented on whether or not Lea Michele is illiterate. She said, quote, "I know that she can read, y'all. I ain't never seen her reading." But I know she can read. She's got to.
I wish Maggie was read in on this conspiracy theory.
Oh, man.
It came out during Glee that Lea Michele, somebody from the cast or somebody leaked that like she can't read, and it has fucking taken over the whole Lea Michele sphere, and everyone who's ever been with her in anything is asked whether or not she can read, and it's the best because she's like a horrible person.
Does she respond to this? Like, has she been like, I can read?
Who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares?
She asked other people to read the comments on TikTok.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Keke said, she said, I'm pretty sure she can read, but if that basic white bitch tries to read my book, she's going to know who I'm talking about.
Nice.
No, I just made that part.
Oh, damn it.
Kevin.
Unbelievable, though.
Unbelievable,
that was.
That was good dialogue.
Oh,
I was going to love her even more, yeah.
So we do have a Hey, It's That Guy.
Hey, it's that guy.
Can you name the actor playing Jackson Zane, the reporter?
Oh, no.
Cute kid, tragic accident. Bulldog and pony show, just in time for 11 o'clock news. What's the real story?
It's like a knockoff somebody. He looks like the knockoff guy from Smallville, but it's not him.
That's Matthew Settle. He was in Band of Brothers and Into the West, but he's best known as the dad, Rufus Humphrey, on Gossip Girl.
Also didn't watch that.
No?
Yeah, I aged out of that.
You aged out of that when
Yeah.
you were no longer a girl?
Literally, my partner asked me last night, what were you doing when everyone else was watching Gossip Girl? Because he watched it because of his sister. And I was like, watching Investigation Discovery?
Yes, ask Kevin what he was doing while The West Wing was on.
I was watching the Drew Carey show.
Oh my fucking
There's
God.
only so many things you could record on the VCR at the same time. It was a different
watching
world.
the Drew Carey show.
It was a different world
Let that
then.
sink in.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you
You
remember
kiss
when
my ass, Rebecca.
He was 100 years old when West Wing was on, watching the Drew Carey
so
show.
funny.
Matthew says his girlfriend and he are expecting a baby in February. Matthew is once quoted as saying, "Women are to be loved, not understood." Not understood, like words on a page to Lea Michele. So we do have some repeat offenders.
Repeat offender.
There's Russell Hornsby as Alvin, Call Me Daddy Dutch.
These good folks must have me confused with someone else. So many of us lost everything we owned.
He's best known from Fences and from Grimm. We also have John Shuck as the unfortunately titled Chief of D's, Chief of Detectives.
You receive an order to comply with the feds. You and everyone under your command obey it.
Who does all this research? Who is looking into these people?
You're getting people out of jail. I'm all over IMDb.
Okay.
This podcast comes out every other week, and it takes him 100 hours a week to make.
This is impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. By the way, this is my favorite John Shuck fact, that he was the first actor to say fuck in a major motion picture.
What?
And he was in MASH.
MASH.
That was the first time fuck was ever said in a movie?
In a major motion picture, yes.
What's a minor motion picture?
Do we know what the context was?
You know, he said fuck, he's a pioneer. That's all we got to know, right?
All right. There we go.
Do you know who the actress is playing Nikki Wright?
There was lots of fairy dust in the van. Can you ask him if I can have some more for little Basha?
No.
Oh, no, girl, you don't know that?
I was too busy looking at Keke Palmer.
Oh. That's Nicaila Tucker, a.k.a. Nicaila Guadalupe, a.k.a. just Nicaila. This is her only network TV acting appearance. She is the sister of the late Naya Rivera, who was Santana on Glee.
Another Glee crossover.
And drowned in 2020 in a boating accident. No Lea Michele joke here, although I will say her alibi is shaky.
Oh, yeah. Naya Rivera was wonderful.
Yeah. Nicaila competed on The X Factor in 2011. She sang I Have Nothing, which seems to include an X Factor because she didn't advance in the contest.
Oh.
Oh, like, fuck you. Like, you know, Nicaila, you feel bad for her. Like, you're friends with her. Come on.
What celebrities do you know who became famous on X Factor? No one.
No one.
It's like The Voice. No one has ever come out of The Voice and been famous.
I was going to say, what was it that Joe Rogan hosted? It wasn't X Factor. It was
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor. Okay.
You put your hand in like a tub of scorpions or whatever.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eat this strange delicacy from Thailand and watch your eyes burn. Something like that. Yeah, exactly. Lastly, do you know the actor playing Clayton Miles, the FaceTiming pedophile?
Only to cuss him out for cutting him off.
What about here in New York City? He ever mentioned knowing anyone?
Yeah.
come to think of it.
Yeah, that is Lou Summerall, 5 Law & Order Universe appearances. If you didn't recognize his face from his bit appearances in Oz or The Blacklist or God Friended Me, you might recognize his voice. He is the voice of Billy Gray, president of the Lost Motorcycle Club in Grand Theft Auto 4, The Lost and Damned.
Yeah, I play that all the time.
Maggie, how about your partner? I bet he plays Grand Theft Auto 4.
We have no gaming consoles.
No?
What was 4? What year was that? 2000? That was 2008? Like, I have no idea.
How do you even know that?
Because I was of the GTA generation. It came out when I was...
Oh, you were?
Yeah, so I did play it when I was a kid. I must have been in like 6th grade, 5th grade.
Oh my
like that.
God. Who are your parents? It was the one video game I never let my kids play. I let them play anything else they wanted. Any first-person shooter, whatever. Grand Theft Auto, I'm like, that is the most antisocial shit I've ever heard of.
It's because this was like, what year did this come out? It is crazy that parents were letting us play this, but I just don't think the implications of it, like, I just think they were like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a video game.
The benign neglect extended to
shooting sex workers.
Too.
Great. Sounds great. Literally.
Amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So he had this big role in Grand Theft Auto 4, The Lost and the Damned, and its sequel, which is also Grand Theft Auto 4, which I don't really understand. I guess
that's video gaming
expansion packs or whatever. But the sequel is Grand Theft Auto 4, The Ballad of Gay Tony. And who better to sing The Ballad of Gay Tony than Leah Michele? So Kraken says if they go public and they say they're looking for a kidnapper, that the suspect will know the gig is up and that we'll probably, just kill Nikki. But if they say she's the unidentified victim of a car accident, people will share their photos from the park and the kidnapper will be none the wiser. Okay, sure. So I guess if a thing is worth doing, they go all in by staging a photo of Tasha back in the hospital in a new Johnny, pretending to be intubated, and then they take that photo to Kinko's and blow it up 6 feet wide and mount it on foam board.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in the healthcare system went along with it. Thanks, Obama.
Hey, can we borrow some supplies for this thing we want to do?
Please help us to find this little girl's family. She may not make it, and her parents should be with her. Thank you.
And it was absolutely absurd. Like, sitting there watching this, like the local police planting a story like they're at the CIA was absolutely absurd.
Oh, come on, Maggie. You know they do that shit.
It was so great. It was so absurd. It was so absurd.
That was really bad. It was. I mean, but to the lengths that they went.
The lengths, yes.
But the ventilator tube was just extra, right? I mean, we got to really pull at the heartstrings.
As if the public will know what a coma looks like.
Right.
We have no fucking idea. We see people in comas in movies all the time, and they're not on a ventilator. They're just lying there looking cute. So
this plea does actually bring in, a bunch of videos that somebody made. Someone made the video on the carousel. So they get this 360-degree view of everybody as they go around. And so they ask Tasha, is that the guy?
I want you to have a seat and take a really good look and see if you can find the man, okay? Come on.
There. It's him.
You mean the only black guy watching the merry-go-round? Like, I don't want to racially profile, but he's the only one that does fit the description. Yeah, that's him. Well, thanks for pointing that out. Have another glass of milk.
And meanwhile, Maggie's like, this is how I have a whole podcast called Wrongful Conviction, because that's always the one black guy who was there.
Well, this is what I was saying. At the beginning, I was quite confused, actually, because I do think I missed the predator. So at this point, I'm still like, oh, this could be a wrongful conviction. I was still trying to figure out, like, why I was given this one. Like I said, I was like, I am so mad at them right now.
Random.
No rhyme or reason.
Oh, really?
No.
It's random.
Because then I watched it again and rationalized.
Yeah.
I rationalized it. I was like, oh my God, Rebecca wants me to talk about.
I don't pick this.
I was like, Rebecca wants me to talk.
I have nothing to do with this show.
I don't know whose show it is.
Yes, you do. Now that you've been here, it's his.
Yeah.
Now I know it's his.
I just show up.
I don't know why I was like, Rebecca wants me to talk about like this journalist and like the relationship and like the journalism. And then when he's like, I'll give you a Pulitzer story, I was like, got it. This is why they gave me this one.
Yeah.
Nope. I watched this today, Maggie. I had no fucking idea. I didn't know you were going to be on until like an hour ago.
Wow.
I like to surprise you, yeah.
I love this.
So we learned that since everyone was evacuated from New Orleans, this whole thing about Katrina is, the reason why they're there.
We remember.
Yeah, we learned in the public service announcement that Wong likes to give that we learned that since everyone was evacuated from New Orleans, they lost track of 4,500 sex offenders and many who apparently started new lives in other parts of the country. And Stabler reports
He's listed as a high-risk sex offender.
And parole lost track of him in the flood.
The guy that I spoke to said they've been kicking down doors looking for him and 270 other most wanteds.
They find any so far?
7 in a shelter on Cape Cod.
and that shelter is called the Kennedy Compound.
The amount of times they say in this episode, actually, about like tricking the people they're talking to is crazy.
Yeah, welcome to the world of SVU, right? You watched it as a child, and now you're coming back at it, your eyes
true.
wide open. You're
eyes
like,
wide
oh,
open
man.
after working in this world for 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, so they do get the fingerprints, and they learn that his name is Alvin Dutch. And reporter Jackson Zane has a tip that he shares with Olivia that Dutch's cellmate was Clayton Miles, and he sets up this video call so that she can interview him and get some information. And he offers a tidbit about Dutch's only relative in New York City.
Yeah, his great Aunt Goldie used to make him fruitcake at Christmas. Hot as a brick.
Remember her last name?
Pretty low, on account I had a girlfriend by that name. Of course, she was white.
She was white, and she was 12 years old. So,
oh, God, probably.
Probably, right?
That guy was funny. I mean, for a pedophile.
It's funny for a pedophile.
As funny as a pedophile can be, that guy was it, because he was like, I don't want to get involved in your police tricks unless you pay me. Like, do you blame him?
No.
I don't blame him. And then how does a fucking journalist have money to pay him?
He doesn't.
Real question.
He tells the stenographer, give him $1,000. Oh, sure. He's like, yeah, I got it right. Watch me go get it.
Wait. You know who we didn't talk about from the first half?
Who?
Hot fucking doctor.
Hot doctor.
Did you see that guy, Maggie?
No, I don't think I did.
The doctor in the hospital who just makes this quick, like, you know how doctors in SVU come in and say one thing and then they leave?
Yeah.
He was so distractingly good looking.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember
so
this.
much so that I said to Kevin later, I was like, are there an inordinate number of good looking people in this episode? He goes, you mean hot doctor? Yes.
Yeah.
You noticed.
I have a theory about hot doctor, all right? Now, stay with me on this.
Okay.
So we see that in the squad room that Alvin Dutch starts throwing up, and he's in the throes of this whole anthrax poisoning for him. So they rush him to the nearest emergency room in Midtown, and that's where Hot Doctor is.
Yeah.
And they go off on a lead, and they find the Aunt Goldie up in Harlem, and they find Nikki, and there she is, and she's, having a fever, and they grab her and put her in the car and drive by 1,700 hospitals and bring her back to the emergency room near the squad room.
Yeah.
Same symptoms as Dutch. Oh, God. Get a portable chest and start IV Cipro.
Benson's must have been like, I'm driving.
They bring her to the pedophile. where
Wait,
he
that
is.
is so, I did not even notice that. Like, honestly, you guys, this was a lot, this one. I was just like showing up with my wine and my weed, just ready for classic murder. Maybe it's like some headline I know. I was like, really, I thought you guys gave this to me. I was spicy.
You know what? No one ever asks, where did this guy get a boat in the middle of Katrina?
Oh, Dutch?
Dutch, yeah. I mean, what are the odds you're a high-risk sex offender and you're just paddling along and you just happen to see 3 girls on a roof with their parents are drowned and you're just like, oh, wow, jackpot.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
do you think he paddled by other people on the roofs and just like,
too old?
Nah, too old.
Well, it's like, that's what I'm wondering. Definitely not victim blaming little children. But like when he first snatched the girl at the carousel, she could have been yelling, help me. It's just like I wasn't getting this whole kidnapped predator thing, just the way they wrote the storyline. Like it wasn't there for me yet.
They seemed a little comfortable. I mean, we are talking about fake actor children. This is not real.
True.
Tasha was carrying her baby sister and still outran that fat ass.
And she's because she drinks milk.
She drinks a lot of milk.
She drinks milk, exactly.
She's a commercial for milk.
And apparently she's very buoyant because she survived.
Yeah.
She survived. She padded the fall of her sister. That's what they said, actually.
She was an airbag for her baby sister. Well, now let's take a look at the second half of this episode. The feds descend on the city as a possible anthrax outbreak threatens New York, a fact Cragen wants to keep from reporter Jackson Zane.
My source said Alvin Dutch died. What's going on, Olivia?
It's not a good time.
Alvin Dutch is dead. No one will tell me how he died, and the CDC just landed a chopper on the roof.
Jackson, I can't talk about it.
I'll find out. You know I will.
Dutch died from inhaling anthrax within the last 48 hours, but because Nikki only got it from a cut on her finger, she'll survive. The girl says she broke a vial of fairy dust that Dutch then swept up, but the rest of the weapons-grade anthrax isn't in the apartment. The whole 16th precinct is evacuated so federal hazmat teams can go through the building. But when they reopen it, the detectives discover the feds have removed all of their notes and evidence on the anthrax case. Plus, Tasha and her sisters have now been spirited away by federal agents who tell the cops the whole case is now classified and leaking details of it is a crime. Warner says several bioweapons labs in Louisiana were abandoned during Katrina, and their inventories are unaccounted for. Fearing for both the safety of the sisters and the location of the anthrax stash, Olivia tips off Zane, who runs a front-page story exposing the cover-up. It makes the FBI return the girls, but Cragen tells Benson if they learn that she was the source of the leak, she'll go to jail. Benson and Stabler again quiz Nikki, who says the fairy dust was in the van that transported them to New York, a van driven by Mr. Michael. They arrest Michael Delpit, a former New Orleans lab tech who admits he took advantage of Katrina to steal anthrax from the facility and sell it to some shadowy figure. The detectives secretly record their interrogation of Delpit, and Benson gives the tape to Zane so he can run a story exposing the public threat. But when the FBI arrests him, he refuses to name Olivia as his source, choosing instead to protect her and go to prison on contempt charges. Okay, so Nikki says that she broke a vial containing anthrax while playing with her teddy bear. So after they go back to the apartment and Warner emerges with the teddy bear in a clear plastic teddy bear size briefcase. Karen, so you could look through. I don't know, why does somebody who does autopsies need a clear plastic suitcase like that?
Better question. Why do someone who needs autopsies need to be there at that house? Isn't she supposed to be doing autopsies? Isn't that her actual job?
Yes, that was also as soon as anthrax now, like a federal situation comes in, I'm like, why is no one with a 3-letter agency name called off the bat? Like, why is the local
you know those jackets
police
with the different fonts that say FBI on them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the feds, again, force everybody out of the precinct building, the 16th precinct. And, it made it look like all the hazmat teams are going in to checking stuff out. But when they return, all the reports are gone. All the whiteboards have been erased. And they figured out, well, this whole thing was a ploy just to get them out and steal the record. So Finn says,
who do we call when we've been raped?
Yeah, real sensitive, Finn.
I guess a completely different elite squad of dedicated detectives, right?
I think he technically meant pillaged. I just want to give him the benefit of the doubt that, he just got confused there for a second.
That joke did not land in 2024.
Nope. Really did not.
Nope. No. You know what that isn't?
Sweet wisdom from Finn.
Right.
That is not sweet wisdom from Finn. So you know who's fully erect because of this situation? Munch.
Oh yeah, this is like all of his brain, everything coming to fruition.
It's
he's
conspiracy Christmas.
He's like, I manifested all of this. That's the Munch way in this episode. I love him in this episode.
He's like, I told you so.
They even say for once he's not crazy or something like that, or for once
he's not wrong this time.
Yeah. Nope.
It was like on Sesame Street when everybody finally saw that Snuffleupagus was real.
Yes.
They're like, oh, we're sorry, Big Bird.
Yes.
We should have believed you the whole time.
Yes. By the way, did they or did they not steal this part of the plot from E.T.? Like the feds,
you know
putting the big house in.
I've never seen it because when I was a kid, I was so scared. So I've never watched it. I've never watched it.
Straight scary movie. You're not wrong. It's very scary. But there's a very similar scene where the feds come in and decontaminate a house pretending it's like termites or some shit, but they're actually doing their fed stuff. And that's a scary scene because E.T. almost dies, right?
He dies, he comes back. It's a whole Christ analogy. Moving on.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Liv figures that the only way to get the sisters back is to warn, and also to warn the city about the anthrax threat, is to secretly leak it to Jackson Zane so he'll publish it. So they meet at night on a street corner.
Change of heart?
Yeah. I want to tell you a story.
She passes him a file with everything in it. Where did this file come from? Didn't they take everything?
All right, I want to ask Maggie this question. You're a journalist.
This is a good. Where did the fucking file come from? Did they miss it?
She wrote it down in a pad and handed it to him.
Damn it!
I don't know, but this is a thick file, right? He opens it and is immediately like, gets what's going on. Like, that's not journalism, right?
No.
That's a good cover page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big font.
This is literally why I thought you gave me this, to analyze the plot holes in the journalist's storyline.
Yeah, you mean like getting a tip and being able to write a front page story on a major New York paper the next day?
They even say, we're going to give you a Pulitzer winning story. The local cops to this local journalist. I'm like, okay, but in a day? Yeah, okay.
Does he even have an editor? Because there was no vetting of this story. What legal didn't look at it?
No.
Yeah, so this explosive story comes out on the front page of the New York Ledger, and it makes the FBI return the children. And there's a big photo of the kids coming back. I forget what the headline was, but it was something very pithy. They look at it. It's the front page
Fednapped. I think it's Fednapped.
Yeah. The photo of the front page of Thursday's paper, and nobody in New York says, "Hey, isn't that the same girl from the coma on Tuesday?" Tuesday.
She looks familiar.
She looks familiar.
Yeah.
And this journalist must be a genius because he figured all of this out, from the second they showed the photo.
Now, remember, the feds come to the department and they come down hard on Cragen because they, believe somebody in that squad is the leaker. But he immediately knows everybody knows it's Benson, right? Because bitches be hysterical.
She has no poker face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't like being bossed around by some G-man in a $1,000 suit. But when I am told to stand down in the interests of national security, I bite my tongue.
Captain.
Shut up. When they question me, I don't want to lie, and they will question us all.
So he warns her what could happen if it ever comes out. They could take your badge, you'll go to jail, and worse, they'll take your pension.
Always the pension.
Man, and some cops are in it for the unchecked power, and some are in it for the retirement benefits.
Yeah. And they always, the pension always comes up, always.
And they usually always get it, even if you just point blank shoot somebody, Yeah. That happens.
By the way, in case you're wondering, at this point, Captain Benson's pension, her pension is 62% of her average salary for the past 3 years. So that would be $94,000 a year if Olivia Benson were to retire today.
It's more than that. You know
it's
got to
be more than that.
No.
Overtime. I know that because cops in Canton, Massachusetts make like $400,000. She's making more than that's being 62%.
Oh, okay. Well, it's okay. So if she doesn't do any overtime and it's just standard, that's what it would be. But also
she does do overtime.
But that's why you got Lucy around. Oh,
that's right.
Yeah.
For overtime.
For overtime. But remember, at that calculation, Mariska Hargitay's pension would be $7.4 million a year. So.
Oh yeah. Sure would. Is that how much she's making? She's making
that's 62% of her salary.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Her propaganda is working out for her.
It is.
I saw Ice-T on Jimmy Fallon, and he said that every time Mariska buys a new house, Dick Wolf's like, yes, use that money, because he wants her to stay.
Yeah.
He doesn't want her to quit. He keeps spending my money. Yes. So, not thinking to just ask Tasha this question, because she's been around the whole time, they again asked Nikki where the anthrax came from. Because they were both in the same fucking van. Remember this?
Isn't Nikki like 6 or something?
They could have at least, thrown one question at her. She knows that it was in the van. They came in and driven by a guy named Michael. Benson and Stabler bring him in and let him have his Dr. Evil moment where he says he sold it to some dude and he doesn't know or care who, he just wants the money. And there's this tape recorder hidden beneath the table. And my question is, why so shady? It's the interrogation room.
I was like, did I just see that right? Like, I was very confused. Okay, got it.
The lights are off.
Oh my God, it was black. They had him come out of the dark, and then all of a sudden his face was like the Phantom of the fucking Opera.
And lean forward into the spotlight and come back.
I've never seen that on the show before.
Dramatic.
That was wild.
Okay.
You know who they never find in this episode? Who has the fucking anthrax? They're just like, well, we're moving on.
I am so glad that it wasn't me. There was a lot missing that I was like, did I see that right? Was that right? Okay, I must be crazy.
No, you're not crazy.
Yet still more coherent than 90% of SVU episodes.
So wild. That's so wild.
So Benson does give the tape to Zane so that he can write an explosive story. And we get to watch him type, which is always great when you see like close-ups and there's no cursor. The letters just appear from going tappity-tap. But when it comes out, he refuses to name his source, and he is jailed indefinitely for contempt of court.
I want you to talk. I want you to tell them it was me.
No, that anthrax is still out there. We both did the right thing.
But I'm not in jail.
You don't belong here. You were protecting those girls. Hell, the whole city. You did your job, and I'm doing mine.
Now, Benson visits him in prison and says, "Don't worry, I used my undercover alias. They'll never look at the video and listen to our telephone through the plexiglass conversation while I admit to everything."
Yeah, she shouldn't have gone there. He was right. He's like, "You shouldn't be here." I'm like, "No." She says, "I use my other undercover alias." So you used a fake name to get into a federal prison. That's going to work out great for you.
Yes. No, she was in a lot of hot water in this episode, and it seemed to just end okay. I'm curious about what happens in episode 8, honestly, or whatever the next one was, 11.
Oh, let me tell you something. Zane's not in it. She never thinks of that fucking guy ever again her entire life.
I was really getting the buildup of that sexual tension. I was like, what is going on?
She's completely forgotten about him. He's rotting away.
I had a lot of legal questions here when Olivia asks the prosecutor how long they can hold him, and she's like, indefinitely. I was like, no, this isn't a black site. Like, what are we talking about right now? She can't be held indefinitely. Right? Am I not?
Well, he might be sent to Guantanamo. You don't know.
I'm like, what are we talking about right now?
Yeah. You know what? Zane should have just said that his source was Leah Michelle. She'll never read it. All right, let's take a look at the real-life story that inspired this episode. It's time for Rip from the Headlines.
You think you know who did it. You think you know who did it. But you don't know who did it. You don't know who did it. Rip from the headlines.
A character in this episode is based on former New York Times journalist Judith Miller. Miller had reported extensively about security and terrorism issues, including a cracking article about US anthrax development published 1 week before 9/11. After the attacks, Miller received a threatening letter filled with a white powder, but it turned out to be a fake. In 2002, she reported Iraq attempted to obtain aluminium tubes used to enrich nuclear material. Bush administration officials pointed to her stories as proof Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. It later was discovered her sources fabricated their info to build public support for invading Iraq. In 2003, diplomat Joseph Wilson said claims Iraq tried to purchase uranium were false. In retaliation, an administration official told reporters that Wilson's wife, Valerie Plame, was a CIA agent. Miller never reported on Plame, but investigators believe she knew who leaked the secret information. For refusing to reveal her sources in this case and in an unrelated story, Miller was found in contempt. She spent 85 days in jail. Miller was released after revealing that Vice Presidential Chief of Staff Scooter Libby gave her the scoop. Judith Miller was fired by the New York Times. Today, she writes magazine articles on a number of topics.
So, Maggie, have you ever got the sense that a trusted source was leading you in the wrong direction intentionally?
I didn't get the feeling. I found out after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Rebecca, how about you?
Nope.
No, it never happened to you?
No, I'm just kidding. I don't do the kind of journalism where trusted sources would lead me in the wrong direction. Like, I oversee podcasts, Kevin. That's just not shit that happens in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly tell, like, when I'm getting spinned. I don't know, when you get spin doctored, where you're just kind of like, okay, like, I know you and you're a source.
But that wouldn't be like a trusted source, right? It would
right.
Yeah.
You don't think they are deceiving you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think journalists understand. They know why people are talking to them, and the sort of it's a trade. Like, okay, you're talking to me because you want this out there. It's not just because out of the goodness of your heart. But I mean, I think that in the end, this is what we're going to say is that, like, Judith Miller defended her stories recently by saying, remember, these are the stories that help push the country to war.
Yep.
She said, I was accurately conveying wrong information.
Yes.
So what? Your hands are clean?
Well, this is the whole thing, though. If you get info from a source and then another source confirms it, like, that's the standard, right?
Yes.
And if there's a conspiracy to give you bad information, which there was.
But yes, it's interesting to look back at this episode, actually, because we now know that the media manufactured consent for the Iraq war. And I think this is so interesting to look back for, especially now when we're talking about a potential World War III happening and the media's involvement. I thought, really, for sure, this was purposefully given to me. So it's definitely an interesting commentary on journalism.
Yeah. How about this? Would you go to jail to keep a source confidential?
Yes.
Why is that?
That's my job. That is the code of ethics that I abide by.
I think people, Rebecca, what about you? I mean, I think there are people that would be like, well, why?
Not even a question.
What was that?
Not even a question. Especially like Rebecca said, I mean, it depends on what we're talking about, right? Like what is the information that I'm keeping and willing to go, the name of the person who has the right? So
right.
But yes,
there's a practical reason, which is that if you give up a source, then no one else wants to be your source after that, right? So you kind of burn in yourself. But you're right, there is sort of this professional obligation that you feel like, okay, well, I'm going to, you're going to come after me, then I'm just not going to say. And the whole reason that Judith Miller eventually got out of jail is that that Scooter Libby gave her the okay to name him as the source. Scooter Libby was convicted on 4 of 5 counts in leaking the case. Those were obstruction and perjury counts. He was never convicted for the leaks part of it. He received a 30-month prison sentence. George W. Bush commuted the sentence, so he never had to go to prison. But with the commutation, the conviction stayed on his record. And in 2018, President Trump pardoned Libby, even though no one asked him to. Yeah, he's not even his father.
He's not even a Kushner.
No, it's just what the fuck.
Yeah,
it's like, well, thanks, but I didn't need this.
But I think in that era, it was like, what's the list of who everybody hates? Give me that list. Pardon, right? It's like all the hated people. Remember, was it Rod Blagojevich who tried to get pardoned and couldn't? Like, except it's like, why is this one guy not getting pardoned?
Do you know what's so funny is that you guys lived through this? Like, I lived through it, but I was 17, 18 at this time. So, like, I didn't live through any of this. You know what I mean? Like, it was consciously, A lot of the Patriot, I think they bring up the Patriot Act in this, and they specifically talk about how, the feds have full reign to do whatever they want.
That's your whole world. You grew up in that world.
Well, I grew up in it, but I wasn't looking at it from this lens.
There was a before time.
That's right. You used to be able to go to the library and search for something dangerous, and no one was spying on you. Yeah. Like, that was a thing. There was a time.
Yeah,
it was so interesting because I was so on the cusp of being able to understand these things, but I was still a teenager. So, like, my understanding now is so different. So watching this episode from that time period was like, whoa.
Maggie, you used to just be able to go into the airport and walk onto your plane. No. It was wild.
It's so crazy.
So Judith Miller, when she was jailed, her 76-year-old husband was in bad health. So she purchased him a cockapoo to keep him company.
Aww.
Because if there's anything a sick old man wants, is a dog that shits more uncontrollably than he does.
Isn't that what you guys have? Do you guys have poodles or cockapoos?
You got rid of the cockapoo.
She died. And she used to shit everywhere.
Okay, so you know the personal,
We have a Bernedoodle. He's wonderful.
He's fine. He's going to live longer than Judith Miller. That's going to do it for us. No offense, Judith Miller. We want to thank our guest, Maggie Freeling. Maggie, where can our listeners follow you online?
Maggie Freeling. I am Instagram, wherever you want to find me.
Do you want to spell your last name so folks like me don't fuck it up?
Yes. Freleng. My Twitter and Instagram, I guess I'm the most active. Maggie Freeling.
Rebecca Lavoie, how can our listeners follow you?
You can find me everywhere. I've been playing on Blue Sky lately as Reb Lavoie.
And you can find us at Law & Order Pod on X and lawandorderpodcast.com on Blue Sky. Follow us on Instagram at These Are Their Stories Podcast, or like and subscribe on YouTube and TikTok. Our newsreader was Cy Frater. Our theme music was composed and performed by Uncanny Valleys. Content assistance from Travis Roy. Lily Flynn handles promotions. All clips in this podcast were used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act fair use exemption for criticism and commentary. Go to lawandorderpodcast.com and sign up for our newsletter for a chance to be our next Law & Order Marathon winner. These Are Their Stories was recorded in Studio C and is a production of Partners in Crime Media.
Partners in Crime Media.